The United States Environmental Protection Agency does not want you to have something this cool, but Taylor Swift can burn 80,000 gallons of jet fuel per year on her private jet. It's extremely rare to see a 79 series Land Cruiser on the streets in the United States, except for if they're 25 years old, but this one happens to be a 2024 V8 turbo diesel right-hand drive with a manual transfer case, manual locking hubs, and a manual transmission. This is basically a dream for any Overlander, especially if you're into Toyota builds. The 79 series Land Cruiser really is the weapon of choice for off-roaders and Overlanders in Australia. You can also find them in the Middle East and South Africa as well, but they are the most utilitarian off-road machines. The aftermarket friendliness with canopies and suspension options is pretty much endless, and they're just a workhorse. It's basically a glorified tractor. So how in the world did we get lucky enough to have one here in Colorado? Well, our friends at EC Off-Road in Australia sent it to Liquid Spring in Indiana to do R&D and install the very first Liquid Spring kit on any Toyota on this exact 79 that's behind me. And then we got it in Colorado because Bowen Customs put this awesome bed replacement on there. And I can't think of anybody better to talk about the suspension or the bed replacement than Brent Bowen himself.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dwight, for having me out here. This is really a special build and super thankful to be a part of it. And yeah, I'd love to walk you through kind of our part of it and dive into a little bit deep here. So what you see here is essentially a topper bed that would fit a 5-foot Tacoma, right? We have adapted this specifically to fit the 79 series because it is a very different truck than the Tacoma, but essentially it is a very similar build. So on our topper beds, if you guys are familiar with our stuff, a ton of exterior storage down here. These all open up for additional storage. On this one, we got the fuel on this side. But really, this is just an excellent way to get a ton of external storage on your rig.
Another great thing about Bowen bed replacement systems like this is that they can really take a hit. So if you're hardcore into off-roading, it's not just utilitarian in the sense of giving you a lot more storage and obviously looking a lot cooler too, but this is just a lot tougher than any other bedside that's on the market. And I think it's tougher than any other bed replacement option that's on the market too.
Yeah, to that point, it's all modular too. So, if you're out wheeling and you take a hard hit to a rock on the corner, we can just send you a new piece and it bolts in. It's not an entire bed that has to be replaced. So
that's awesome.
Pretty handy for the hardcore wheelers.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of cool Toyotas with Bowen beds on them, and we were lucky enough to work with Brent on Drew Sims' build, which he took immediately from Colorado to Alaska and lived out of it. And now he's been doing all sorts of expeditions all over the world in that. So they are tried and true. They're made here in Colorado, and I don't think it gets any better, and I'm jealous that my trucks don't have a Bowen bed on them, and maybe we could fix that soon.
We'll have to fix that for sure.
Okay, Brent, before we dive into the liquid springs and talk about those, because I know you're an expert since you work with Elevation Off Grid on some huge builds, and that's what they're outfitted with, why don't you tell us about the back end of this, because it's pretty special too.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with our topper and camper beds, and this is what we have our patent pending on, what makes them special is that unlike all the other flatbeds on the market, we actually retain the factory floor height of the truck bed. So when I pop this open, you will notice this is set up as a full drop tailgate floor height, right? On a flatbed, your floor height's gonna be up here, and then you got a cramped living space with the GFC or any other topper like that. So by retaining this floor height down here, it's easier entry, more living space. It just makes the whole thing more usable. On our camper beds, it makes it so the campers sit lower as well. So this is kind of the secret sauce for us. This bed in particular, we have a custom bridge notched up in the front for the liquid spring suspension. But overall, it's just a ton of great storage.
Brent, why don't you tell us about the whole reason why the 79's in the US in the first place, and dive into what liquid spring is all about.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, EC Off-Road, this is Cale's personal truck. He sent it to Liquid Spring to do the R&D for the very first Liquid Spring. Liquid Spring is planning to introduce this in Australia for the 79 series. This is number one, okay? So it's over here on a 1-year special import permit, so they could do all that R&D, which is why we got it and why we got it to SEMA this year. What's special about Liquid Spring is that it's a first of its kind. It's been around for a long time, actually. It's on about like 90% of the ambulances in the United States. And in the last 5 years or so, Liquid Spring's been working with companies like Elevation Off Grid to develop what you see in some of our builds, which is the larger lifted trucks, especially on F550s and the like. And the reason why it's so special and why it's gonna be so great for this truck down in Australia is because Liquid Spring is a smart suspension. So what that means is they have sensors at all four corners of the truck, and as you're driving, it's reading the input from the road, and the feedback that it's getting is adjusting the strut. So it's actually a strut with silicone fluid. It replaces the whole leaf pack. And really what you get out of that is you get a suspension that's thinking and adjusting as you drive.
Awesome. So it's like live valve stuff that Fox is coming out with, but instead of traditional hydraulic fluid with springs, there are no springs. So it is a true hydraulic, 100% hydraulic suspension kit.
Yeah, it literally is a liquid spring. It's a strut that is being adjusted, I think it's 1,000 times a second for those road conditions.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that you have the ability to do because of the hydraulic nature of these struts is adjust the height in real time on the fly.
Yep.
And then you can also make it true earth load leveling. So let's say you set up at camp, and instead of having to find a log to get one tire on top of to make your tent level, this will just level for you automatically at some point when they come out with that option?
Yeah, so there's two aspects to the true earth leveling that they call it. There's the auto and there's the manual. The manual is in development, it's about to come out, where you can manually adjust each corner of the truck. But really the automatic is the sweet spot. I have it on my personal truck, the Warthog, and when I get to camp, it's one button and it senses all the corners and it adjusts each strut until that truck is perfectly level. So if you're sleeping up here, if you have a camper, it's one button touch, level, done.
Glamping taken to the next level for sure. Very cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we should show the inside of this thing to everybody in the US so that you can drool over something that's so cool and you can't have either. My favorite thing about the inside of this 79 is that it's right-hand drive. It is a manual transmission, 5-speed, and again, 4.8 liter V8 turbo diesel I'm so jealous of. It has a manual transfer case to go with those manual locking hubs, and there's nothing bougie on the inside of this at all, with the exception of maybe the large screen in the center, but there's not even like a push button start. It is a old school key. I'm actually surprised that there's power windows, but the seats are not even powered. They're manual seats. So it's all about utilitarianism. There's nothing you don't need on a 79 series. It'd be really cool to deck one of these out and make it luxurious, but as it stands, everything you need, nothing you don't. It was super cold and windy where we were shooting the intro to this, so we took it back to Mountain Yotas here, and I got to ride in this with Brent driving, and it drives really, really well. It does not feel like a tractor anymore. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that is and how the liquid springs work with how it relates to driving feel?
Yeah, so it really comes back to that smart suspension, right? So as we mentioned, it's taking readings from the road as you drive, and it's adjusting basically the dampening inside the strut. So it's actively adjusting your drive condition, right? So it's giving you that smoother ride, better handling, all those things that just you don't get out of like a leaf pack, right? And that adds
so nose dives are eliminated.
Yeah, you slam on your brakes, it keeps it level through the braking experience. You really notice it when you put like a camper in the back, because you don't get the swerving that you would normally get. It counteracts that. So before you even finish your swerve, it tightens up the outside strut.
So even side to side, it's just independently creating zones on its own to either stiffen, loosen every corner. Super cool. It feels amazing. Thank you so much for letting us film this video, and shout out to Bowen Customs. They make the best bed replacement systems. Hands down, they don't just look the best, they are the best. And they're made right here in Colorado too, so we gotta support our Colorado businesses as well.
That's right.
And a little birdie told me, it was not Brent, that Liquid Spring is gonna start making stuff for Toyotas. Obviously, this is a Toyota, Liquid Springs on this, so we can only assume that we'll be able to do liquid springs on your Overland builds soon. I am inferring from that, but also I saw somebody say it on a video with one of the liquid spring guys, so it's not, you know, like public knowledge or anything like that, and he didn't crack, but I'm cracking. Me. I'll be the one to say it. Hit us up for liquid springs soon. Thanks for watching, guys.
Love it.